And welcome to this video. I had a question submitted to me by one of the viewers of the channel about reorienting parts, um, relative to the origin. And so let's get into that. I'm going to create a simple sketch, and we'll say this is 4 inches in diameter, and we can extrude this mid-plane by, say, another 4 inches. And when I hit Control 1, my view goes to this flat face on this cylinder. What if I want to hit Control 1 and have the view go to this side face? I have to reorient the part, right? So the cylinder is coming out of the front plane. I want it coming out of the right plane. There's several ways to do this. Perhaps the easiest, depending on the amount of complexity you have on your part, is to go to your history tree and then right click and say Edit Sketch Plane. And from here I've got my front plane selected. I can remake that sketch on the right plane. And the sketch is updated to be on the right plane. I hit Control 1 and now we're looking at that side face. So that is one way of doing it, but there are limitations to this. Let me give you an example. I'm going to sketch on my right plane, and we'll make this a smaller circle, say 2 inches, and we're going to extrude that 4 inches out, right? So I've got two cylinders, one coming out of the other. This one's coming out of the flat face, a distance of 2 inches. And if I want to reorient this, I have to edit my sketch plane, and I'll select my front plane, and you'll notice, first off, I get a rebuild error. Second off, it's still coming out, it didn't reorient properly. This feature did not move, whereas this feature did. Reason being, I am referencing this feature from a plane, and so I have to reorient my sketch on every plane that I use. So edit sketch, I should say edit sketch plane, and we'll choose the front plane. And now we've got no rebuild errors, and we're reoriented properly. So for everything that references a plane, I have to update that sketch plane. So if you've got a really complex part, it could be laborious and perhaps even impossible to do. So keep that in mind, and notice I can even edit my sketch plane, and instead of front plane, I can make it relative to this face. And of course it's longer now because I've moved the sketch from the plane to the face. But now I can edit my sketch plane and go to my right plane, and both features update because this is relative to the part instead of to a plane. And so all of your fillets and chamfers and everything that you might put on an edge will update no problem. It's just when you are working off of an existing plane that will need to be manually updated. So hopefully that's clear as can be. There's a few other ways to do it. One way that I can do if I save this part is I can make an assembly from this part. And when I go to import this, I'll simply float it. And I can orient this any way that I want to, right? I can say this plane should be mated to this face, and I can turn it 90 degrees, and then I can reference the planes that were running through the part and mate those. And once I get it, in the orientation that I wish, I think I've only got 1 degree of freedom here. Might as well just finish this up. And now that I'm fully defined, and let's say that this is the orientation that I want, I can save as, and I can choose a solid part. But the problem is if I go open up what I just saved, notice I have no history tree now, because when I save from an assembly to a part, the history tree is lost. So I don't recommend this way of doing it, but if you're desperate, you can do it that way. So let's talk about reorienting in a way that might preserve our history tree. And this also has some factors that may not be the best to work with, but if the other things will not work, you can come into the commands and say move, and here's the selection to move or copy bodies. And so I can select the body that I want to move, and I can choose mate settings right here. And so this works just like an assembly. I can choose this face, and notice face 1 comes up, and I can choose something like this plane, and now I've moved my body to be level with this plane. And so I've got this coincident, then I can add another mate. I can say I want my right plane to be tangent to this face, or however I want to mate it. And then I can just click the green check, and I've reoriented the way that I want to. Of course, it can be a little bit confusing because I can go to this, edit this sketch, and they don't really line up because I've moved the body. And so when SolidWorks goes to rebuild, it builds it the way that it was originally modeled, and then it goes in and reorients it afterwards. So be aware of that, but move and copy bodies is another more robust way than saving an assembly as a part for reorientation. Hope these things were helpful. If they were, please subscribe. Best way to help me back, and I'll catch you in the next video.